companionship of a well-behaved dog more than repays the time and effort spent in early training, makes it more enjoyable to live with and more socially acceptable, but it also enhances its basic character. Roger, it's obviously good for us to have a well-trained dog, but is it good for them?
Sure, it's a dangerous world out there. Dogs need to be protected from it by us, and they need a strong relationship with us. They need to know that we are the master ultimately, and that means that sometimes we have to make the difference between right and wrong clearly established in the dog's mind.
Now, if you get a dog, who should train it? Should it just be one person?
Well, all of the family members with whom the dog is regularly in contact. You can get an excessively dependent dog if only one person does all of the training. But there are certain things which are most easily taught by one person in the family, and then the other members of the family take over once the habit has been formed and the lesson learned.
When should we start training?
Well, really, the dog is learning from the moment it's born, and it is certainly learning a lot in that first 6 weeks of life. And it is certainly possible to train the dog to do all of the basics of, for instance, sit, stay, come, in the first, say, 12 weeks of life. It's in fact a great advantage to get your training in early because their little brains are that much more impressionable, just as with children, so much more easy to pick up new languages when they're young.
Talking about language, how does a dog recognise its name?
I think it's just part of the everyday contact with your dog that you precede some command or some nice surprise like offering it food with its name. Rover, sit. Here's your food, Rover. Rover, come. They pick it up very quickly. And of course they like to respond to very sharp, single, ideally monosyllabic names like my dog Sam, rather than Jeffrey and Jonathan and that sort of thing.
Roger, you say dogs learn all the time, but how do we get them to learn the bits we want them to know?
Well, basically, dogs are self-interested. There are certain things that they like and other things that they don't like, which are different for every dog, of course. The things that they do like, of course, are food and contact with us because they're incredibly social animals. They like our company, they like the company of other dogs. They like warmth, they're indolent creatures that like to sit in warm spots. They like novelty and variety. They like stimulation, which is why most dogs like jumping into the car, for instance. They don't like sudden noises like this. Many dogs don't like water, so that can be used as a punishment if you like. Another severe punishment is simply being ignored by us when we turn away, when we walk away from a dog. That's very upsetting to them. And so with this sort of series of cost-benefit analysis, which is going on inside a dog's mind, if I do this, something unpleasant will happen or something pleasant will happen, they learn. And they do things more frequently, which in previous occasions had a pleasant outcome. So we can actually design a training or a learning regime that is mainly based upon one of reward and minimizes the use of punishment, which is, after all, the nicest thing for us to be doing with our best friend.
So apart from patience, do we need any special equipment to train our dogs?
Do invest in good, strong equipment because what's at stake is safety of you and your pet. Really, the minimum equipment is a collar and lead. But it used to be thought that that collar should have been a choke chain, and especially in training circles, the choke chain has really been regarded as the essential equipment. I wouldn't agree with that viewpoint because I'm afraid choke chains do choke, they do hurt the dog. And there are actually much simpler ways of training a dog that I want to demonstrate. But if you do use a choke chain, do for goodness sake have it on the dog's head or neck the right way, because the wrong way it will actually hurt the dog quite considerably. So we need a good wide collar made of strong fabric or leather, which is going to span 2 cervical vertebrae, so almost certainly at least an inch in width. With the name tag, very important, the name tag on it so that if your pet gets lost you can retrieve it. The lead that is attached to the collar should be, I would say, at least 1 meter in length. And don't skimp on the thickness of this. Remember, you've got to hold it, so it also needs to be comfortable for your hand at this end. Metal or chain leads are particularly uncomfortable in the winter when your hands are freezing anyway, holding something metallic. There's another type of lead, which are these extending leads that go out to 5-8 meters in length. And they give a tremendous amount of freedom to the dog, a nice compromise between freedom to roam with control. And they're a very great training asset in the dog. And recently there's another type of head collar called a halty, which controls the dog actually at the nose end, at the front end of the dog, much as one would a horse, instead of around the neck.
The aim of dog training varies greatly from the complex obedience routines of police dogs to the everyday control of household pets. You should have a well-behaved dog which is under your command at all times out of doors. If you have difficulty, you can go with your dog to training classes. They will help you to train your dog. But it is easy enough to achieve good results with patience, clearly understood commands, and hand signals to reinforce the spoken word.
Go on, Sam. Sam. Sam, heel. Sam, heel. We'll have him on a lead. And firstly, hold the lead across your body, most of the power being done in your right hand, but also some control with your left. Sam, come on, heel. Come. Good, good. And Sam, sit. Sit. And Sam, stay. Every dog needs to know this command. Sam, stay. Come on, Sam, come on. Sam. Good boy. And sit. Sit. With a lot of praise of cuddles and tidbits occasionally. Now this simple three-part sequence, sit, stay, come, is really the minimum knowledge that every dog should have about dog training. And it's terribly easy to train this if you start from the beginning. Suki is 8 weeks old. It's the first walk she's had outside the home, and it's also the first time she's worn a collar and this lead. Very strange experience indeed. One that she'll probably initially struggle against. But we're going to try and teach her to walk to heel, even at this very young age. I'm going to do so using this extending lead and hopefully exploiting her natural response tendency, which is to follow a moving target. Suki, come. Suki, Suki. And life is fun. Suki, Suki. Suki. Come on, Suki. Suki. Come on, Suki. Zama. And when she comes, I'll give her a lot of fuss and reward and a tiny, tiny little piece of something that is really quite delicious. So, even at the beginning, she's learning that it pays to obey. Suki, come. Suki, come. Suki, good girl. And a little tiny piece of tidbit. And it's much easier to teach the come response in a puppy which is this age, because from birth until about 16 weeks, they follow anything that moves. Thereafter, you have to be a much more skillful dog trainer. So another good reason to do all your dog training whilst the puppy is young. Come on, sweetheart, come on. Suki, come. Good girl. Good girl. And Suki, I think I'll try and train her to sit even. Suki, sit. And a slightly chaotic sit, and she can have a tidbit. I'm carrying some little noise-making devices just to keep her attention. Suki. Suki, come. Suki, come. Good girl. And Suki, sit. Suki, sit. And she sat of her own accord. She's Mensa material, is Suki. They didn't leave the brains off when they made you, darling. And we'll do it again. Suki, come. And Suki, sit. Suki, sit. Oh, boy. And she hasn't done any of this at all before. Suki, come. Good. Walkies. And especially she's learning to be beside me or behind me, but never in front of me. And that way we can avoid ending up with an adult dog who is pulling on the lead. So the important thing to remember in this training session is we started early. We started with the right equipment, which was a nice long lead, a nice comfortable fitting collar. We were carrying something that makes a funny noise, and it could be some car keys, and we were carrying some tidbits. And lessons learned now will save a host of problems later on in life.